this is just an explanation of how I wind a warp. A long time ago, I feel like, back when I met Malik, he did a interview with me on radio and I was trying to explain the weaving process and it was really difficult. So when I tell people that I have to wind warps, this is what I'm doing. First of all, I've got a ton of hand-dyed rayon balls. I'm planning 2 pieces right now, so while I have my warp winder out, I have enough yarn. I'm going to wind off both warps this weekend. So I pull my yarn my balls from the outside. You're supposed to pull them from the inside because it keeps it more organized as far as the pull, but I'm not going to use the whole thing right away. So when you pull from the outside, they don't collapse on themselves, which is why I do that. So I've got it in an old sauerkraut jar so it doesn't roll around on the floor and it can like kind of toss around in here without falling apart from the outside. Or like the innards will sometimes like fall out if you don't have it in a consolidated bowl or jar or something. So this is the second color of the second warp for the first little piece that I'm planning out. It's a variegated yarn that I over-dyed a little bit in my current dye lab. And it's just a short one, only 3 yards. So I got my leader yarn on here. I use a heavy rug yarn because it's completely different than anything I weave with. And that way if I step away from the piece or winding the warp, then I can come back to it and know which dowel I ended on. So I'm not guessing and I don't end up with multiple different lengths of colors of warp when I go to warp my loom. So I tied a slip knot and I'm putting it on the first dowel. And then I go over the second and the third dowel, around, down. I've got it on the end one, you can put on any dowel down here, around the end one, back up. Then when I come back up, I go under the middle one and back over the first one, and I'm creating a cross here, again, over, over. And this cross is gonna keep the threads in line for when I go to put it on the loom and thread it through the reeds, or the reed on my loom. And I'm not putting as much of this variegated warp on the second warp on this piece, this smaller piece, so there's only going to be, I only need 34 threads. So I should be able to show you this all in one go. This is called a warp winder, I don't know if I said that already. They're great. They go a lot faster than a warping board, obviously, because a board is just a bunch of dowels and you're winding it back and forth with your arm rather than letting the wheel do the spinning and all the work. You can also go around this multiple times, which then the leader yarn is really important, for me anyway, so that I can stay on track with it and follow it when it's wrapped around a couple of times. So I'm going to count this real quick. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. A little bit more. But this is kind of part of what I'm talking about when I do my Sunday morning ritual. I listen to Prairie Home Companion and make sure to focus on my weaving. A lot of people know me for my bead weaving, beadwork. But one of my passions is really my larger pieces for exhibition. So I make sure to kind of recharge and refocus while I'm listening to Prairie Home Companion on Sunday mornings. And it's my 2 hours straight of focusing on weaving time. tie that first to make sure I've got it. It's a really important part so that it makes life easier to get it on the loom. Thread it through the reed. Right on the end. I like to separate out the cross too, just in case it ends up getting thrown off to the side and in the bottom of the bag somewhere. You never know. So I tie one half of the bunch on one side and one half of the bunch off of the other side, separating the cross. And then you kind of want your threads to stay together, yarns stay together, so got one here. Cut this so I'm not still pulling rayon. This is a hand-dyed rayon that I use in pretty much all of my weaving. And then I tie the end down here. And I tie the loop too, right here. So that's the beginning of my chain. So I pull it off, and again, this is a really short warp. Pull it off, I've got a loop here, and I'm just gonna pull through and grab and pull through, and that keeps your threads kind of organized in a chain. You can wrap it around your bar as you're getting it on the loom, depending on how long it is. Just it keeps it shorter and more manageable. There, and we're off. And there's a warp chain.